Journalism is one of the oldest professions of the world, and of course it is also very prestigious. Many people look on to journalists, they want to be like them, they see journalists as role models, they want to be like them, but unfortunately these days the young ones don't want to delve into journalism. Why? Because when you ask them what you would like to be, they wouldn't even mention journalism. I don't know, maybe because of the image they portray for themselves, or because of the unethical behaviors, or because of the welfare of journalists. That is why many of them run away from the profession. And our discussion still center on our topic that we treated last week, image management for journalism profession, public relations perspective. My guest, Dawood Olatunji, is the Ogun State correspondent of the Punch newspaper. You are welcome this week once again.
Thank you for inviting me. Good afternoon.
And on my immediate right, I have a three-time commissioner in Ogun State, the first female chairman of the Ogun State chapter of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, Mrs. Doyisola Ogunbi. You are welcome once again, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Good to be here again.
She is the teacher of my teacher. And I also have my teacher here, my boss, my teacher, and my mentor, Mr. Demola Oladushu, a media manager. You are welcome this week again.
Thank you very much. I'm always proud to be a journalist.
That's fantastic. Now to set the ball rolling, let me start from Dawood. We stopped our discussion last week on the image for journalists, particularly the ethical aspect of the profession. And I want to ask Dawood this week, journalists, there are a lot of wranglings among journalists in Nigeria, especially at the upper echelon of the profession, Nigerian Union of Journalists. What is the role of NUJ in bringing sanity to journalism profession in Nigeria?
Thank you so much. NUJ is a union. That is the problem. I can choose not to be a member. So it is not that because I'm a journalist, I must be a member of that union. So that is one of the problems NUJ is having. NUJ does not have that almighty power on journalists. So because it is kind of a free association. That's why when you want to blame NUJ, you must know its predicament. So it is not a regulatory body that government sanction. Yeah, so because of that, it can only back. It can't bite. If it bites, the affected journalist can say you want to pull out, because you can perform, you can operate, practice as a journalist without being a member.
So how is journalism a profession regulated in Nigeria? That
is the problem. I think we have to beg our teachers here. Sincerely, you see, we have problem of who joins. It baffles me. Let me cite this. You can't just say you are a member of NMA without being a doctor.
Even NIPR.
If we can have the profession well regulated, the issue of this, all this image battery, all these problems, it will be solved. There are so many people that we have arrested a lot of fake journalists. They just, in fact, as I'm Dawood Olatunji, yes, you'll be shocked if you go to Jebu. You will see another Dawood Olatunji. They will impersonate, and they will use ID card, and all the people cannot. How many people don't know Dawood Olatunji?
They don't appear on screen.
We have seen a lot of Moshood Adebayo. We have seen a lot of so many. They just look at the paper, the bylines,
and they pick it.
They know we stay in Abeokuta, and they will stay either in Jebu or these places, and they will defer people. Many people will now call when they now say, hey, please, there's one Dawood Olatunji, we gave him money, he did not write our story. They will now give them our numbers. And I say, I'm Dawood Olatunji, have you forgotten me? Maybe you come to Abeokuta. When he now saw us, now say, you are not the one. So I think they need to regulate it.
Regulation. Let me come back to you. According to him, journalism has become all commerce affairs.
It is.
Every Tom, Dick, and Harry, we have charlatans, quacks, and they have dominated the job, so to speak. So this has brought a very bad image for the profession. How do we get out of this quagmire?
Well, let me just buttress this point on the fact that the profession, as a profession, like any other profession, is not regulated, is not chartered. You know, there's no legal backing to the profession, even to adhere to the ethics and rules of the profession. So even if you break the rules, what law will hold you responsible by? I mean, nothing to back you up. And that is why the terrain is free for all. It's just free for all. We that hold occasions as public relation practitioner, you just see a barrage of men say we are journalists. We are journalists. I said, which paper did you represent? You know, so then they start fusing into the air one by one. But to some people who don't know, how to manage them, they tell you they are journalists, you welcome them and entertain them, and they get the envelope and go. It has become the beggar's field. It has become the beggar's field, and is detrimental to the image of the core professionals. And I want to appeal to the core professionals not to succumb to those menace, because you know the difference. You don't know the difference of who is a real trained journalist and who is not. There are some real trained journalists that are low in ethics, very, very low, are very cheap. Most of them are very, very cheap. You don't even, want, when you see them, you know that if you give them something, they will come.
Okay, let me come back to Mr. Oladushi.
Yeah.
Dawood mentioned something that he has seen many journalists who practice without having certificate to back it up.
Yeah.
We blame them. But what about organizations that employ them?
Well,
they have a role to play. Are they not contributing to this manage?
Yes. Let me say, one of the journalists that practice without being trained formally in any institution of learning, and I have put in at least 39 years of practice, and I think I'd excelled on the field, because I was trained on the job by people, seasoned broadcasters, seasoned journalists. I was trained on the job, and I've also said this several times, that not until when the journalism becomes a profession in this country, and it is regulated as a profession. Look at today. You can't say you are a member. I mean, you are a NIPR practitioner without being registered member of NIPR.
Do the professional exam.
Yes. Now today in teaching, they're asking them to go and get certificated by Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria.
Yes.
Yes. And we often miss the opportunity. We've had members, even up to today, we still have members in the National Assembly. They have forgotten about their beginning. They have forgotten about their foundation. We have had one time, in fact, we have had national president of the NUJ as senators in this country. They never taken any move to ensure that this journalism becomes real profession. But having said that, if I want to go by the experience of Ogun State, the history of journalism practice in Ogun State, those were the days when somebody like me was endeared into stay put on the profession because of the kind of people who are managing the union in the state. I remember the glorious days of Ogun NUJ, where the chairman, the secretary of the NUJ must be on the protocol list of the state government.
That's right.
Ogun NUJ had produced series of textbooks that are being used in Institute of Higher Learning. Ogun NUJ used to organize seminar and training for members. Ogun NUJ became toast of the national body of the NUJ. But today, it's not the case.
It's politics.
So, it depends on those who are there. And of course, like we have said, what is the mission and vision? You might be a PhD holder in journalism, you must still be a good journalist.
Yeah.
And you may be somebody like Demola who wasn't trained, but who is I can describe as a committed journalist. We still have very few members of very few journalists today who are upright, but who are also overlooking the ill doings of their colleagues. And organizations also play a prominent role in the image of journalism. You cannot compare journalists in one particular newspaper or one particular radio station with journalists in other particular newspaper or other particular television station. So it's and society. Why must you offer money to journalists? Because you want your story to be published. And you want to even dictate how your story should be handled or treated.
Okay, I'll still come back to you. You're watching Your Image, and the topic is image management for journalism profession, public relations perspective. My guests are still very much around. With me, you can join the conversation on DSTV channel 260, GoTV 100, and of course, StarTime 113. Let me go back to Dawood now. Journalism profession, of course, very prestigious, like they have said, like our teachers have said. The future of journalism, how should it be? How does it look like? We are talking about developmental journalism. It's an aspect of journalism. We are taught in school that developmental journalism is seen as the type of journalism that should see to nothing but development of the society. So where do we see journalism in the next few years?
Its future is threatened.
Threatened, you said?
I must tell you, it's threatened with the this introduction of social media. So
I was going to ask you that anyway.
Gone were the days when you say that tomorrow watch out for my story. Before you even write it, many people will have even splashed it on
no suspense again.
No suspense.
You know, we are taught about libel, slander, and we are mindful of that. That's the area of, journalism is sitting on tripod. Gathering, sieving, and dissemination. The sieving aspect has been removed. The social media rats, all these handlers, they don't think about that sieving. Once they get information, somebody was filming a gory picture, and we are taught that offensive pictures should be. They just railroad. That's it. Yes. So the future is threatened seriously, and I don't know. And when Minister of Culture said that they want to come up with a social media law, it will also assist journalism, but we view it from political view. There is need to regulate it sincerely, and I don't know how the leadership of NUJ and the Guild of Editors, the two bodies should sit down and be concerned about the future of journalism. Since in fact, it will get to a time you don't have to take correspondent again.
Yeah.
Dawood said the future of journalism is threatened. What should now be the role of public relations? Don't you think PR should now come to rescue?
I don't think we have that kind of ambulance. No.
What an adjective.
Very funny. And
we don't have
that
kind of ambulance, because the air itself is free, like Dawood said. You can't control the air. It flows, is very free. And then for the profession, let's try and protect the profession. It is key that the profession has a legal backing. It is very, very important.
So one step after the other.
One step after the other, but the key players are not showing passion, they are not showing interest. Those who are supposed to do it have compromised integrity. Those who are supposed to, kickstart it or, kick it off or initiate it, they don't even care anymore. So the profession is its own enemy. We are our own enemy in journalism.
I love that.
Because we are not even protecting the future of the up and coming. Where was NIJ, the institute that is training journalists now, when Jack Ondi was a journalist, when Oshoba was a journalist, when Dele Giwa was a journalist. Well, there was no NIJ, but they were doing it professionally because they understand the nitty-gritty of the job. The passion is lost. The society is not helping them. They are aiding and abetting it. The economy is not helping it. So many factors are affecting the profession like any other profession. But the sad aspect of journalism being the granny of all professions, grandpa of all professions, because the first newspaper came from here. So being the granny of all professions is a shame, my dear. It's a shame that that profession till today has no legal backing, is not regulated. There is no edict setting it up. Nobody is going to take any thing legitimately to function. You cannot even be proud as a professional because nothing is backing you up. The union is not different from teachers union. It's a labor union, so they can demonstrate, they can do anything, but there is nothing they can stand for professionally. So it's sad.
Now, let me go to the veteran, Mr. Ladishu, as a broadcaster. I want to go to government now. There is no government, whether at the state or federal, that doesn't have space for social media. They have essay on social media, they have essay on broadcast media, they have essay on Twitter, on this and that. Are they not contributing to the collapse of the journalism profession, thereby affecting the image of the profession?
Well, largely, society, either those in government or those out of government, we had all warmly embraced the social media. As a matter of fact, as said by Dawood, you want to believe what you see, what you read on social media, or what you see on social media, than what you hear on radio or what you see on television. But having said that, let's go back a little bit in history. The founding fathers of journalism in this country were also the founding father of the media establishment in this country. Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, Papa Awolowo. So, tribunes still standing, waxing stronger up to today. But today, let's take a look at the media establishment in Nigeria today. Who are the owners? I remember the present chief of staff of Mr. President delivered a lecture on Radio Nigeria, and he asked the question, how many television stations, how many radio stations can we point to that were established by journalists? Almost all of them by politicians. And of course, they were not established for public interest. They were established for their own selfish interest. And so they say, who pays the pipe, takes the tool. They tell you what to do. If you cannot do it, you go away. Even the so-called public media, how public are they? We call them government-owned. Are they government-owned? They are public media, not government-owned. But those in government hold on to them. They don't allow the public media to do the biddings or to work in the interest of the public. They see them as organ that they must use to feather their own nest.
All right, don't sell your conscience. Image management for journalism profession, publications perspectives for the do. Dawood, let me just take you on this. You were taught in school so many things, so many ethics, so many laws of journalism. Are those things exactly what you face in the field now? Let's compare
sharply different.
How? Why? How?
In fact, I've told some of the teachers there that I'm not ungrateful. I said what I was taught in school is not what I found on the field. We were taught 5W and H. It's no more relevant. If you try to practice 5W and H in the paragraph, you are taught that your first paragraph must contain 5W and H. It will be cumbersome. It will be like Kechina will say. It will be too wordy. Forgotten. He has one. So you see, there is need for our teachers to relate with
the industry
practitioners.
Okay.
What I found out is many people, when they come for CUS or IT, we usually sit them down. We now start from the fresh. it's like they didn't teach them anything. We expected that somebody that has kind of spent either 6 months as a Suez should have known how to write first paragraph and then cast headline. They don't know. And the way they are taught is not, I think they need to collaborate with the practitioners.
So the relationship between
in university they say the gown and town.
Okay.
They also need to do that too. So that they will not be looking at the book. Sometimes the theory, when you go to the field, you find out that it's just a mere paper work.
Okay. Now finally, from you, your take home, your advice to your fellow journalists.
You should uphold the ethics of journalism, regardless of our predicament, regardless of what we are going through. You see, I found out that those that should practice journalism should be God-fearing.
So what can you say? Publications, journalism.
Well, what can we do with a Siamese twin as public relation practitioner? Journalists and public relation practitioners are Siamese twins. You carry information, we supply you with the information. So can we separate ourselves? So what we have to do is to protect the integrity of the profession both ways. You know, if you know that Daudu will not take envelope, you don't give Daudu envelope.
And don't tempt me.
No, what resist me?
I won't collect, but don't tempt me.
What I'm saying is that, you know, if I know that the Daoud's organization will not permit Daoud to take envelope, and Daoud as a person of integrity will not take the envelope from me, I will not offer Daoud, but I will expect that Daoud will carry my story.
Definitely, you will do that.
To do his job appropriately
and professionally.
So I want to add, before I go, that every profession, in fact, population is doing it. I don't know about, we can't be referring to NUJ as a professional body. Like he said, is a union. They are not professional body. But I believe that all these professions or professionals should study the trend, analyze the trend. Time moves, so we must move with the time.
Okay, we must move with it. A very quick one from you, Mr. Oladish, before we round off for this week. A very quick one.
Well, governments must adequately fund the government-owned or publicly owned media establishment, and I think they must fund them so that they stop taking money or charging money for news coverages. And of course, there is need for all stakeholders in the media industry to come together and see how we can rescue the media from the stranglehold of politicians, so to say, and allow the media to perform their duty as expected.
This is how we draw the curtains of this week's edition of Your Image. I'm sure you enjoy my guest. I want to say a very big thank you to Daoud Olatunji, Ogun State correspondent of the Punch newspaper. Thank you very much.
I'm happy to be in the midst of my teachers.
That's fantastic.
You taught
I
also want to thank Mrs. Joisela Ogumbi, one-time chairman, NIPR Ogun State, the first female chairman, anyway, and 3-time commissioner in Ogun State. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. It's always my pleasure.
Yeah. And Mr. Demola Oladushul, media manager, thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I'm glad that I cut my teeth in journalism from the beginning, the House of Journalism in Nigeria, Ogun State, where we had Iwerui.
Thank you.
All right, until we see you next week, let's try as much as possible to protect the image and integrity of journalism profession. Until then, see you next week. God bless you.